Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and today I'm really excited because I finally got my hands on the Galaxy Z Fold 7. Now, some background on this. First of all, I ordered this directly from Samsung. I also have the Galaxy Classic watch coming in as well, the 8, to upgrade from the 7 regular that I had before, so I'm excited about that. That comes in tomorrow. I ordered this directly from Samsung because the last time I had a Fold, I actually had the Fold a couple of years ago, ended up returning it and not keeping it, that I did a review on because we'll get into some of that stuff. But I realized that when you order from Samsung, you usually end up getting the phone early. And last time I did a pickup at Best Buy, so I obviously had to wait till Friday. And lo and behold, I have it 2 days early, which is awesome, from the official release date of Friday. I got the blue edition here, 512 gigabytes. And the reason that I'm back on the Fold train and why I didn't like the previous version was mainly because of two things. One, it was because the phone still felt kind of bulky in your hands, like you knew you were holding two screens in your hand, and it felt like it. And it was very different than like the Galaxy Z25 that I have right here, or even, you know, whatever I had back then, the 23 or whatever that I was using back then for the Galaxy. But this one, obviously, you know, I've already played with this phone. Obviously, I haven't opened it yet, but I played with it at Best Buy when I went there personally and went to go look at it, and it felt great in the hands, which is why I'm super excited, because that's when I pre-ordered, because I realized that, like, hey, this feels like a regular phone in your hand. It feels like I'm just holding a Galaxy, you know, S25 in my hand. It doesn't feel any thicker, and it's just insane that it actually just opens. So that problem was alleviated right away. And then the other big thing that led me to returning my old one in the first 30 days is also the fact that the screen on the front, the cover screen, was just not big enough. My envision of a Fold is to have the same exact thing that you have on a Galaxy S25 Ultra, for example, even though it's not as big as this, which we'll get into and we'll talk about how I feel about it. But my envision of it is, like, I want a Fold like this that looks like this on a regular cover screen, but then it just ends up folding and giving you a bigger canvas. I don't want like a screen that's smaller on the cover screen, because that's what you're going to do a lot of things. You're not always going to be opening this thing up when you want to text someone. You want the keyboard to feel natural. You want things to feel natural while you're scrolling through TikTok. You're not always going to open the Fold up to be using it in that mode. So that's why I returned the original one. And this one, when I saw it in person, is much better. Is it as big as the S25? No, the S25 is still larger, but this finally feels like we're getting closer to that. It feels much more natural in your hands. You can still use it one-handed, and it feels like a proper cover screen now, where it feels like the 6.5-inch screen actually does it justice, and I don't feel like it's crammed when you're on the keyboard and stuff like that. That was my first experience when I was playing with it for like over an hour or two at Best Buy when I went to go look at it. So I'm excited to now finally have my hands on it and put it through its paces. We're going to unbox this real quick and do some first impressions and show you the phone. So let's go ahead and get into the video.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a recce is the gaming tech. Gaming tech is the gaming tech. Gaming techie.
All right, guys, so let's go ahead and unbox this. Now, the unboxing is nothing too special. I mean, it's a regular plain black box. This is what the Samsung phones have been coming in for a while now. Obviously, this being a bigger one, but when the Samsung S25 came in, it came with a very similar box, just cut in half. So it's not super special when you unbox these things. But obviously, I'm just unboxing it for you guys for the very first time here, opening it up nice and slow. And there it is. Here is the fantastic blue that I got. Man, does that look so good. I obviously saw the blue in person when I Best Buy, but it's different when you finally have it in your hands here. There is the blue screen, and man, does this phone, right when you touch it, feel super light. Let's go ahead and put this down for just 1 second to see what else comes in the box here. The only other thing that comes in the box is you have your instruction manual. You also have your USB cord as well. As you can see here, USB-C, and then the instruction, and then the thing to move your SIM card if you have one, which I don't, because I use a digital SIM card. So nothing else really special going on in the box. Like I said, this is the box that it comes in. It just comes with the instructions, USB-C cable, and the tool to remove your SIM card. So that is pretty much it. And then, of course, the main event is the actual phone itself. Now, of course, it does come with like a little protective sleeve on the back and front. I'm actually going to, before I continue with this review for you guys, our first impressions, now that we have the phone out, first of all, look at that blue and how good it looks and how thin this device looks. Of course, I'll give you guys a close-up here in a little while. But the first thing I want to do actually is put my screen protector on. I have a screen protector here from Spigen for the front display. So before I even take off the front screen display, I want to just immediately get ready and put this screen protector on so the front screen doesn't get scratched up in any sort of way. Obviously, the main screen in the middle The big one doesn't need anything because it already has a screen protector pre-applied. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then set up the phone in the first, couple of steps that it basically walks you through, is transferring your phone from your old phone to this one, because you guys don't need to see that boring stuff. And then we'll come back and I'll give you guys a close-up of the phone and walk you through some of the things I think about. So let's fast forward. All right, guys, so let me give you guys my first impressions now that I finished putting the screen protector on the phone and doing all of that. First of all, the speaking screen protector is the one I definitely recommend. I'll have a link down below in the description for my Amazon link if you guys want to support me and the channel. I don't work with them or anything like that. It's just the best screen protector I found because it's so easy to put on. It comes with two, and you use like that plastic thing and you just kind of slap it on. No bubbles on perfectly on the first time. And now I have an extra one in the box, but it works really well and it looks great on there, and it's cut out to be exactly the same form as what the phone is, as you guys are seeing here. So you don't have to worry about it. Like, it doesn't go edge to edge, it literally just covers the screen, which I really like. So let's talk about the phone itself. Obviously, the big thing about this thing is just how skinny this is. And even though I already knew this, obviously, from using it at Best Buy and stuff like that before I got my own, on my hands here, man, is this thing really thin. It is insane on how thin this is. Even when you have it in your hand, it feels like I'm just holding my Samsung Galaxy phone in my hand with no problem at all. It's really, really cool how that feels in your hand, and it doesn't feel like I have a foldable phone in my hand. It just feels like I have a regular phone that just folds in half. And then what's even better that I discovered is when I have the phone open in half, and not only does it feel thin in your hands, and the thinnest phone ever, obviously, at that point, but it also just lets me hold my phone opened up in a really easy fashion, which actually makes me use it more. Back when I had the original Fold, I wasn't really using it too much in the open stance, unless if I was watching a long-term video or playing a game, because I didn't want to just hold it in my hand because it felt heavy holding it in your hand opened if you were just going to scroll through TikTok and stuff all day, or Instagram, or whatever the case may be. But I was doing that for like an hour today, and I didn't feel any strain on my hand because the device is so thin and so evenly balanced that I was just sitting there scrolling and scrolling with the device open, which is also a really cool benefit as well, which is really nice. So the thinness of this phone, the weight of this phone as well, and how light it actually is, really does showcase how much better it is than the previous models. It's nowhere close. And again, it feels like I'm holding a Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra in my hands when it comes to weight and when it comes to just the feel of the phone, and it just so happens to open, which is like one of my biggest things that I love about this phone. The next thing we got to talk about that I didn't mention in the intro is the crease on this device. I knew that the crease was a lot less noticeable, and obviously, with my first hands-on on it and now playing with it here at home with my own personal device, it really is a gigantic difference. One of the other reasons that I forgot to mention in the beginning of this video that I didn't, a reason that I returned my phone, is because the crease would get in the way sometimes when it comes to watching videos or, just using it in the open state. The crease was a little bit there more than I wanted to. It wasn't terrible, but it was just another thing to worry about on top of the weight, on top of the fact that it was bulkier than regular phones. The crease there was just like another thing on top of it. If it was just that, I wouldn't have returned it, but just all these little things kind of added up. And now this device is kind of taking care of all of that, which is obviously awesome. And the crease is another big thing. And I got a huge improvement from the 5 and the 6 that I saw before. It is so much better. Not only does it feel like the crease is barely there when you put your finger over it back and forth, thanks to the new hinge design that the phone has, but it also just naturally, when I'm sitting on the couch or watching videos or playing games or using two apps side by side, there is nothing there that gets in the way. Like, the crease is not really visible to me, and most times the only time I see it is if I'm holding the phone sideways and try to flick it back and forth in the light, and then I see it. But just in regular use, if you're not putting direct sunlight on it or direct, looking at it side to side with the light, I think a lot of people are going to be much happier with this, and it's a very vast improvement for me, and just another one that really sells this phone for me, and so much better than the previous models. The next thing we got to talk about is, of course, the beginning part of what I talked about in the intro, which is the cover screen. I have always said that, my envision of a dream Fold is that I want the front screen to be as big as a Samsung S25 Ultra or an iPhone, model as well, and just be that size, but then it just so happens to open. That's what I want. So did they make this better? Absolutely. It's so much better. You can still use it one-handed. It fits apps, and the apps look more like they're supposed to because of the 6.5-inch screen and the 21:9 ratio. Everything about it looks better on this cover screen. It is miles better than, you know, the original 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 fold. It's a little bit bigger than the Samsung 6 fold as well, with a couple of millimeters out, now being stretched out to get that 21:9 ratio. And it definitely does make a difference, especially if you have them side by side. Is it as big as my Samsung S25 Ultra? No, absolutely not. But it is a lot closer to it, and I don't look at the phone now and think, oh my God, this is so much slimmer. It feels like I'm using a terrible phone, and I always want to open it because I never want to use the cover screen because I felt like it was always too small. Where now it's like, hey, it's big enough at this point. Where now if I'm gonna just scroll on TikTok or Instagram for a little bit, or if I just want to answer a message, I don't need to open the phone every single time. I'm gonna open the phone when I want to indulge myself in something for a while. Like if I'm going to scroll for an hour, then fine. If I want to use the web browser, fine. If I want to play a game, fine. If I want to watch a movie, fine. All of that stuff makes sense. But now using the cover screen for the smaller tasks doesn't feel like I'm on a cramped screen. Now, selfishly, as my dream phone, I will say, I still want them to go a little bit bigger, millimeters, a little bit more stretched out to get that screen even closer or right on top of what it looks like for an S25 Ultra, just so we can have the best of both worlds. But this will now not be the reason why I return the phone, because it is much closer, much better to use. Apps look a lot better in the way that they're proportioned and size because of this screen. And it is now a non-issue for me, but that doesn't mean that I don't want them to go a little bit bigger just to get closer to the S25 Ultra even more. But I think most people are going to be a lot happier with this, like I am now as well. Now, when you first open the actual display and you see that big 8-inch screen that it now has on the actual display, as opposed to the 7.6-inch screen that the old ones used to be, this is a gigantic upgrade when it comes to just the squarish nature of it, and obviously having a foldable in general. It is super fun to be able to multitask on these devices, having two apps side by side that feel like you basically just have two phones in your hand. Being able to multitask with 3 apps or even 4 if you have one on top of it is obviously super awesome. You know, watching a full screen video, I know a lot of people have talked about this. You know, it is true that when you have a full screen video that yes, it will have black bars in the top left and the top and the bottom. If you just full screen it, landscape mode or portrait mode, obviously one of them is going to give you a bigger portion of the video than the other, just by the nature of the aspect ratio, as you guys are looking at here. But my favorite way of watching a video is actually just opening up the YouTube app, as you guys are seeing here, and displaying the video and having the comment section at the bottom, because it still gives me a bigger experience when it comes to watching videos on YouTube and stuff like that than my regular Samsung S25 did. But I can still see the comments down below and interact with those comments at the same time without it being taken any part of the real estate. So that's my favorite way to watch. If I want to indulge into, you know, watching a full screen video when it be on Netflix or Disney Plus or stuff like that because I'm watching a movie, yes, I wish the black bars weren't there, but, you know, obviously the aspect ratio is something you're going to have to deal with this device. You can either live with the black bars and, you know, flip it around to landscape mode so you get the most amount of real estate, or you can zoom in and lose a little bit of the outer edges of it if you go in landscape mode, or if you're in portrait mode, that's probably worse because you're going to lose the top and bottom. I'd rather put it in landscape mode and zoom in so it fills out the whole screen and just lose a little bit of the left and right. I might do that in some YouTube videos and stuff like that, depending on what I'm actually watching. I don't know if I'll do that in a lot of movies because obviously I don't really care about doing, like, I don't want to lose anything when I'm watching a movie. YouTube video, if I lose the outer edges, is usually no big deal. Usually people are centered in frame. So for the most part, that's fine. But for movies, I'd probably just not zoom it in. There are people who are talking about workarounds that you can, like, use the you know, get a black wallpaper and stuff like that and use it as like open 2 apps at once, open like Disney Plus or YouTube on the top and just stretch it all the way to the bottom, and then the black bar will only be at the bottom. So there's workarounds that people make it even better, but my point is that the experience of watching movies on this is still better than my S25 Ultra, regardless, for all the reasons I just said, even if it's not perfect because of those black bars. And as somebody who has Plex and likes to watch old school Disney original channel movies, Disney Channel TV shows that were back on in the day, or just 90s and 2000s TV shows where a lot of the content was 4:3, this screen is amazing for 4:3 because the black bars are very much smaller than they were on the 16:9 stuff, of course, and it takes up almost the whole entire screen without zooming in or anything. And I love watching old school movies and TV shows. That's probably what I will watch the most, to be honest. So for me, even better that 4:3 fills out most of the screen here without even zooming in. And for me, that UDC, the camera being on there, as someone who didn't have a Fold before and wasn't really used to it to begin with, I don't really care that there's a camera there. The fact that it's better resolution is fine by me. So I have no issue with it. I know other people feel differently. It's the same thing with the S Pen for me. It's not something I didn't have a Fold before. Obviously, I had an S25 Ultra. I never even pulled out the S Pen in that case. It's always been in my phone and never even used it. So for me, it's not something I care about. You may care about those two things, but for me, I got used to the camera cutout really easily. It didn't really bother me when I was watching content or playing a game. So for me, no big issue. One of the other things that this phone is obviously great for is just playing games on this full 8-inch screen. It is super awesome. You can even have 2 games playing at once if you want to play Pokemon Go on the other side, and maybe you want to play the Pokemon trading card game on the other, whatever you want, or everything in full screen. Like when games take advantage of the full screen like some of these games do, it really does look outstanding and it's super fun to play. This is definitely going to be a great way to play games and way better than it would have been on my Ultra device before. Obviously, as this being my just first impressions, I will be doing a day in the life with a Samsung. It's going to be my first time I do a day in the life. So if you guys are interested in that, make sure you subscribe and support the channel. But for right now, all I can say about the battery is everything I've seen online and everything I've experienced so far in my short time with it is that it's probably, if you're coming from a Fold 6, it's going to last you about 40 minutes longer than that. And because of the efficiency of the Snapdragon chip that we have on here, so about 40 minutes longer. But obviously, we all want better battery life. We all want silicone batteries to be used on here so we can get those gigantic milliamp hour batteries like the 5600, 5500 as opposed to the 4400 that we have on here. I think most people are still going to get away with just charging it every day, once a day, and getting through one full day, as long as you're not like just sitting on the phone playing a game for 6 hours straight. But if you're just using it normally throughout your day, which is why I'm going to do a day in a life where you're just like using it to use maps to get to work or texting and opening up a video during your lunch break and then playing a quick game here and there, scrolling on social media and stuff like that, you're going to get through a full day. You'll just have to plug it in at the end. And we'll do more in depth of that when we do my full day in the life of using a Samsung. But obviously, I wish it was better. Obviously, I wish they were using silicone batteries, but the phone is super thin. Hopefully, that's the next update we get on the next Samsung phone. So my first impressions on this device so far are obviously extremely positive. I'm loving the cover display. I am loving the inner display being a little bit bigger. I'm loving the way that 4:3 videos that I watch a lot of from my old school TV shows and from the 90s and 2000s look on the display. I love watching things on YouTube, like taking up the top and then having the comments on the bottom. Playing full screen games on this looks fantastic on this device. Smooth as butter. Haven't had any issues with slowdown or anything overheating and stuff like that. But again, early days so far being my first impressions. We'll see how that continues. Obviously, love the thinness of the device, the weight of the device, and all of that stuff. I love the camera quality so far. Obviously, it being like a Samsung Ultra that I have now with the 200 megapixels. Obviously, the other two cameras, the telephoto and the wide one, are going to be a little bit not as good as my Samsung S25, but I was always using the main camera anyway, so no big deal there. I love being able to fold this device in half and being able to use it to take selfies and stuff like that. Or use it in a propped up mode depending on what you're doing. So that stuff is cool. Being able to use the cover display and just taking a picture of yourself in a selfie is obviously one of the best use cases for a foldable, which is really cool. Multitasking on this device is obviously great, like we showed there. Being able to use either 2, 3, or 4 apps. Love the new addition that you could actually just go and zoom in the multitasking all the way to the edge and just flip back and forth between 2 apps, which is really cool. The Samsung UI is obviously my favorite Android UI. This being coming with a UI 8 and Android 16 has been smooth, has been great. All the AI features on here are pretty much the same as they were on the Galaxy S25 that I did a review on and other previous devices. Most of that stuff is the same. I really do like that one of the big things that they added on here that I do think is cool is using the device in my hand, editing a photo, and Samsung has the best version of this where you can just edit something out of the photo and it will show you the 2 photos side by side. That's one of the new things that they added with One UI 8 on the foldable, that you can see both of those on side by side and kind of look at what they changed. So that stuff is cool with the little changes, but for the most part, most of the AI features are the same that you guys are used to on the S25 and all that stuff and the Z Fold 6, with just a couple of things sprinkled in on here. That just add a little bit more layer to it. Like Google Gemini now takes up the full entire screen when you do it, which is super cool. I do like the Samsung feature on the front screen there that's like that shows you like what's going on in your day, and they added more features to that so it can take advantage, like actually integrating YouTube videos, not just shorts, integrating your health stuff from your Samsung Watch and stuff like that. So I actually do like looking at that every day. They just need to add more content to it so there's a reason to look. I don't want to open it every day and just see the weather and one news article. I want it to fill my day with things that are important, and it seems like they did that with One UI 8, and that will evolve as time goes on here with this phone as it kind of sees my interest and see what's going on in my day-to-day life. So overall, obviously my impressions are pretty high on this device so far. Again, I will do a day in the life here soon. Make sure you subscribe and stay tuned so we can see how it performs in battery life throughout the day and talk about even more features and stuff like that as we continue to use this device. But first impressions on my first day with this device in my hands are really positive. And really the only thing that I can come down to that I would say, hey, this is what I want for the Samsung Fold 8, I would say use silicone batteries so we can get bigger batteries. That's definitely number one in my opinion. The charging rate speed would be nice if the charging rate speed was a little bit higher as opposed to what it is right now, being at only 25 watts. So it takes about an hour and 25 minutes to charge your phone as opposed to under an hour that my S25 took. So because it doesn't have 45 watt charging. So that would be nice. I would also love if the cover screen was just a little bit bigger, but that's just being nitpicky. But like I said, my dream phone is having the S25 Ultra screen being that big and then opening it. But I understand that like this is the middle ground and it's still a really good display and I really like the way it is, but selfishly a little bit bigger, if it was up to me, is what I would do with that. But there really isn't that much to complain about with this phone. Those are just wish list items that I'd love to see on the next foldable design. But yeah, I'm not going to be returning this one unless there's something drastically changes and I'll update the comments or post a new video. But as of right now, this is a much better impression than I had on my last Fold that I used. I'll be giving my Samsung S25 back to Samsung because I used it as a trade-in credit. I'll be on the foldable gang. I'll be getting every foldable from here on out if it keeps improving for Samsung, which is awesome. We'll see if I get the Apple version, but I've already heard rumors that their cover display is going to be 5.5, so that's an inch smaller than this one. So definitely not going to be what I like when it comes to the cover display, but still we'll give them a chance and see what it's like when the iPhone comes out. They need to do something on the iPhone side to keep things interesting because I left the iPhone because it's been boring over there for a while. And, you know, Samsung is doing some exciting stuff with these foldables and these flip phones and stuff like that. So, yeah, if you guys have any questions about anything you guys have seen in today's video, as always, leave it down below. If not, thank you guys for watching. Till next time.